Wow.
Wow. Wow, this is some really deep stuff. I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something. I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me. And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it. And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before. It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things, of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session. I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
Yeah, it's funny. It's I'm always really flattered when people say that they've listened to an episode of mine, but oddly, I'm also a bit relieved when people say that they haven't.
That makes sense. I might feel the same way.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I really appreciate you being willing to jump on and work with a new person.
Of course, I was curious.
Yeah. Have you worked with IFS for a long time?
Yeah, I would say it's a long time by now. I started getting into it 2 years ago, and I read No Bad Parts, and it just made so much sense.
Yeah.
And I got in with James, but I also started doing a lot of peer work with a friend of mine, and we've done a lot of really interesting stuff with that. So I've been receiving help from James and a little bit from my friend, and I've been also helping my friend a lot with all of us. So I've both received and given a sort of peer work thing. I've never seen a licensed IFS therapist, unless you're one. I think James said you were a therapist, or
no, I'm actually just a coach.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, I have a whole other full-time profession, and this is a passion project, kind of similar to James.
Okay. I must have got things mixed up.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. I have lots of conversations with James about, hey, are we allowed to do this? We're not therapists.
Well, I have a perspective on it that I've seen a lot of I don't know. I've seen people have bad outcomes from actual therapists, and I've seen good outcomes from peer work, and vice versa as well. But I think that people are sort of made to help each other, whether or not they're paying somebody to sit in a chair and write a notebook. So yeah, that's my thinking. So
I definitely agree. And compassion is, I think, something that you can cultivate, but not necessarily learn from a book or from schooling. So yeah, it's really nice that more and more people are open to going with what feels right for them.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And I think we'll all need to learn some of these skills to help each other. I feel like there's um not enough mental health professionals in the world to help everybody get through
Yeah,
it. At some point we need to help each other. So that's my
I could not agree more with that. I love that outlook. And yeah, I think there's definitely a high demand and a high need for it. So I
Mhm.
think that's great. That's wonderful. Is there anything that that you're curious about with me or that you want to chat about before we kind of drop in and get
Hmm.
started?
I don't know. I don't think I have any other questions. I'm excited for it. Do you have any questions for me?
No, other than just the usual parts or questions that I've got on board, but
Okay, sounds
I'm
good.
totally good. Would you like to start with a minute or two of meditation?
Sure, sounds good.
All right. Would you like one or two?
One is good for me, but I'm fine with either.
All right, let's go for one, and I will call you back in just a minute.
Alrighty.
All right. All right.
All right.
Do you have any parts that feel like you need some being with today?
Well, let me see. The thing that I've been working on lately, um, is sort of there's a manager and an exile. And I just recently found what I think is the exile, but the manager needs a little more coaxing, I think, to really let go. And I don't know, have you ever listened to any of my previous sessions? I'm f fine either way, just
Yeah.
curious how much you know.
Yes, I'm a avid fan of live IFS. I've listened to many episodes from all sorts of callers. I've definitely heard a few of yours.
Okay, so it's basically what my main manager, like the one, I guess it's the one that's talking now, the one that's always in front, and I call her daughter, and
Yes, I've heard you mention her before. Yeah.
yes, so what I found the other day was this part after kind of clearing two different protectors out of the way, and I don't remember exactly what they were, but I found this thing that appeared like a little rock,
Hmm.
like I call it a space rock.
Mm.
Um, and it just says, I'm just a rock. I'm just a hard little thing. Um, and nothing, nothing matters to me. Nothing has ever been enough to impress me. Um, and this exile, kind of, I was really excited to get to it because I have this feeling all the time that of kind of anhedonia and like I'm not really like in my
Mm.
life, and I feel like that little rock is something, it's obviously not just a rock, like it's going to be something um
It's
completely different.
yeah.
But in order to really access it more, there's this my manager, it drives my manager crazy, and I realize she's always, and she realizes now that she's always trying to work around it and make it happy or like check on it or whatever and see. And it's like, are you having fun now? Are you having fun now? Are you having fun now? And it's like this whole thing. And because this little rock is so committed to feeling nothing, she is really convinced by it that it can't feel anything.
Mhm.
And so, no matter how much she tells herself that it can change, her fear that it won't change leads her to stand in the way.
Yeah. Yeah. She doesn't have a lot of faith that there's any other response that anybody's going to give.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't, which is interesting because she's also the one who's obsessed with IFS. And so it's been strange, like realizing that she's almost obsessed with it because she can't fully believe in it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, but that makes sense to you, her
Yeah,
experience
I
being
think
that
so.
she's only ever got one sort of response
Yeah.
in this part. So that's what she expects. Cool.
Yeah, and she's also been used to having to do everything alone without help. And so she doesn't really expect self to actually help. She still always expects self to be some part of her that she has to get in gear. And it's very
Sure.
hard for her to believe that self is outside of her.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's
Hmm.
really common for these main managers.
Hmm.
They've been working really hard for a really long time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And so do you feel in contact with daughter now?
Yeah, or at least I feel like she's here because she's always here. Whether or not self has contact with her, I'm not sure.
Yeah. How do you feel towards her?
I feel it feels nice to talk about her issues in that I know what her issues are, and I don't feel like I'm judging her super harshly for having them. Um, but I don't feel some overwhelming sense of compassion about it either. So
Yeah. And what happens when you ask her to take energetically a step out in front of you?
let me see. Something softens a little bit.
Hmm. Yeah.
She's, yeah. Yeah, it softens a little bit. And then she's like, oh, well, how can I keep it softening? And then that's, she's used to that cycle. And so it almost,
A lot of sense. Yeah, that's
yeah. Yeah.
really, really understandable. You can let her
Hmm.
know that that makes sense to us. And
Yeah, it definitely does.
yeah, you could try asking her what she might need to
Mm.
interact with you in this other way of stepping out in front of you, being more face to face.
She needs to know how to step back and how to stay back. It's like she wants to, but she doesn't know how. At least that's how it feels to her.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any concerns about what would happen if she did or
It feels like in order to step back, it's like one of those things where you have to have experience in order to get a job, but you have to have a job in order to get experience. Like she's like, I feel like in order to step back, I have to stop being afraid of like of stuff, but in like the fact that I haven't stepped back and received self is why I'm afraid. So like, yeah. It's like, what do I do? Kind of.
yeah. Yeah, it almost sounds like that's why those small incremental doses work well for her. So
Yeah.
kind of just test that out a little bit.
Yeah. She just has a fear with those that it'll never amount to anything sustainable. And I know it doesn't have to be that way. And she really knows it doesn't have to, but she's like, that's all it's been doing for all this time.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. We generally go off of what our experience has been.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all at her pace and what feels comfortable to her. You can
The
let her.
thing is, she really wants it to be fast.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some fear there, but she'd like to try.
Yeah, yeah. It's like she wants to step back so badly that she can't do it, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you can let her know that that's okay. Does that feel okay for you?
Hmm. Yeah, I guess it's okay for me. It's more that she's not okay. She wants to go faster and she's upset that I haven't been able to go faster or that she hasn't been able to go faster. Like she's seen stuff happen with parts of me and with like parts in my friend, but she's she feels that she's a particularly tough case because of her sort of cyclical thing.
Oh, it
Where
sounds like yeah, really important job.
Yeah, yeah. Well, her thing where like trying to address the problem leads to more of the same problem. Like she's aware that it's like a cycle and she wanted to stop, but trying to stop it seems to make it worse, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, what's that been like for her?
It's been really frustrating and she's just not sure how to do something different than what she's been doing, but she is like hopeful about getting help from others, even if it feels like something that my system alone can't deal with. So she has that.
Yeah, she feels like it's been really frustrating, but that she's open to help from outside.
Yeah, she really wants to do something about it.
Yeah, what would she like to happen?
Um, she would like to learn to step back.
Yeah. And does she know what that would look like?
She thinks it would look like her receiving support from self and her being a positive force in my system instead of the one holding things up. And she she knows that if she stepped back, she would allow self to get to other parts that she really wants it to get to.
Yeah. Yeah. And has she seen glimpses of that with you?
She has. Definitely there are some things that have improved.
Yeah. And how's that been when that happens for her?
It has been really nice, and she's noticed a clear difference. And she knows it's not all in her head because it's changed the way that she interacts with her family members,
Mhm.
um, to the point where like people are acting differently towards me,
Mhm.
in a good way. So there's that. She's just kind of upset that she can't get it to accelerate the way she wants. She can be very impatient.
Yeah. Yeah. And how are you feeling towards her when you feel that kind of impatience and frustration?
Um, I feel her impatience and I feel a feeling of like, oh God, you gotta stop being impatient because that's the thing that's holding you back. But then she's like, I can't stop. It's how I feel.
Right. Right. Yeah. See if you can ask the part that says, oh God, you got to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Just check in with that part real quick and just ask it if it wouldn't mind stepping back just a little bit just for this conversation
Okay, let me see.
and to see how it takes that in.
I think it needs to express its concerns, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It because it's like I've tried everything. I've tried stepping back, I've tried stepping in. Like she just does, she just acts like this and it doesn't stop no matter whether I'm in the picture or not, and I just need something to change. That's how it's feeling right now.
Yeah. So that part is used to trying to get daughter to change.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been really frustrated with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that make sense to you?
It does. Yeah.
Yeah. And does that part feel like it could trust you to, or I should say, trust us
Hmm.
to try a different approach where it could relax and let
Um,
communicate with daughter?
yeah, it says as long as you're trying a different approach
Yeah.
from the approach that daughter has been trying on her own, then it's as long as the approach is actually different. But it's so skeptical of her because it sees the way that she tries to be self all the time.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense to you.
Yeah.
It doesn't want repetition of things that
Yeah.
it knows doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Hmm.
Yeah. Would it need anything else from you, or would it like to share any other concerns before it relaxes back for a little while?
It might, it doesn't know how it's going to react to daughter still being active. It knows it can relax if it sees her relax, but if she's not relaxing, then it it's like
That's
it's
when it
like
usually
yeah,
steps in.
like polarized, like they're polarized against each other kind of, or it's polarized against her.
Yeah. And does it feel like it's been efficient in that role?
Um, no, it kind of knows that it's part of the problem, but it's like whatever, there's going to be a problem no matter what I do.
Yeah, it's doing the best it can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can let it know we get that. And if it feels all right or if it feels genuine, you could show it a bit of appreciation for, its attempts to step in and try to help.
It has been a good critic because it could be very easy for me to think I was really working on myself. And it's always the one that lets me know that something is stagnating.
Hmm.
And that's nice to have because I
Yeah.
would be afraid of what happened if I didn't have that.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a really important role for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Anything else that you would like to ask it or intentions that you'd like to set with that part?
I'm still getting a fair amount of skepticism from it, and I guess I feel curious about why, like what else it needs.
Yeah. Great. You can let it know that.
Yeah, because I'm getting a sense like it's not like it's not feeling curious. Like it's not very excited to step back and see what happens with daughter. And
Yeah.
I know that it's very invested in moving forward. And so if this is a good way forward, which like intellectually I know that it is, then why is it not interested in that? And it's just kind of a very hopeless feeling part. It just doesn't believe that anything will solve this basic underlying issue.
Yeah. And has it seen the glimpses of work that self has done with the system?
It has, and yet it's like it's kind of going like I've seen stuff get better, but how come I don't feel better? How,
Yeah,
how come it's always other parts or other people, but not me? And I think that's a good question. And
absolutely.
I appreciate sort of the like sadness and like feeling of abandonment in that.
Yeah, it feels like it's kind of getting left out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I'm still working just as hard as I always was. That's its feeling.
Yeah. Olivia, would it feel right to spend a little time with this part?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. How are you feeling towards it?
I feel some compassion for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just very tired
Hmm.
and it feels like it's been forced to work a lot and with sort of no end to the work in sight.
Right.
And that is natural when you're just working 24/7
Hmm.
and things don't improve. It's natural to feel completely discouraged.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is the polarized part to the main manager and protector of the system. And so it's always working hard.
Yeah. I guess it's a sort of critic or a judge of what's going on.
Hmm.
And its job, at least right now, is to evaluate what's really going on. And so it's been doing that and been trying to steer things in the right direction. And yet it's apart, and so it can't really fix things. It can only just be like, this is wrong, that's not self. I know that's not self. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
try to get your attention in different ways.
yeah.
Yeah. And what's your proximity to this part now? How are you being with it?
I definitely feel some proximity to it, some more proximity than I've had usually. I
Mhm.
don't feel like it's completely enveloped in self-love, but I definitely feel like there's a connection there. And I'm enjoying that.
Yeah. And how is it for this part to be with you and for you to hear a little bit about what it's been like for it?
It feels good. Like I can tell there's a shift in my body that it feels some relief.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that I can connect with it. And at the same time, I'm experiencing its fear that this connection won't be enough and that things will go back to the way they were anyway.
Yeah. And that makes sense to you. That's probably what has been its experience.
It has, yeah.
Yeah. So you can let it know that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. It
It's
does.
its fear is really understandable and really welcome. It's welcome to share all of that with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I just got something from another part, which I assume is daughter, saying that if this part just keeps expressing its defeatist mindset, then that's going to cause it to have a self-fulfilling prophecy, basically. And I
Mhm.
don't actually think that's true, but I understand how that part came to that conclusion.
Yeah,
But
It might be from that part's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking we should check in with daughter. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to check in with your connection first with this part, but that was right where I was about to go is let's have just a quick check-in with daughter and see if there's any concerns that she might have about us going to this part that's kind of polarized to her, that's, maybe critical of her. And it sounds like she doesn't want to spend too much time there. Is that what you're hearing?
Um, she just she thinks that it's she's basically like we need to progress, we need to keep going, and um these defeatist feelings um are sort of it's not that they're bad. It's not that they're like going to cause like it's not that they're going to get rid of the progress in and of itself. It's more like the more we focus on them, the more time we eat up.
Hmm.
And then the more time we eat up without solving the quote unquote problem, the more discouraged and defeatist that part is going to get. So she thinks that focusing on its concerns will actually upset it and make it
Yeah.
block even more.
Yeah. Yeah. And does that make sense to you?
It does,
Yeah,
yeah.
me too. Yeah, she's looking out for everybody and including this part that's kind of polarized to her. And
Yeah, yeah, because she's like, you're making these predictions, and then by saying all this, like, and taking up that time, you're gonna make them come true because you're gonna prevent me from working on what needs to be worked on. It's
right,
interesting.
right, yeah. You can run this by both of them, but I'm curious what it might be like to invite them both to some sort of gathering with you.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
I think that sounds good.
great. Yeah, so you can set that up for them,
Okay.
invite them, make
Okay.
have their separate spaces, however they're comfortable.
Yeah, they can talk to each other. That sounds nice.
Great. Yeah. And how are you being with them now? Are they both open to that idea?
Yeah, it seems like it. I have a feeling of them sort of meeting each other in some way
Great.
and and perhaps interacting directly.
Hmm.
It's kind of a vague feeling, but it seems to be there.
Yeah.
Um,
Can just invite them to notice your presence and let them know it's completely okay for them to continue to have a bit of an introduction and introductory conversation with each other.
yeah. Yeah, I think it seems like they like that. Like as long as I'm there.
That's it. Yeah.
They start to freak out if they think I'm not there.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
Can let them know you see that
yeah,
and we're here with them.
yeah.
And see what it would be like to invite them both to have a conversation about their point of views, not
Yeah.
necessarily to argue or to prove any points, but really just to see if they could hear each other out a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So daughter is like, I don't want to stop you from expressing yourself. I want you to express yourself. I just know that you keep saying you don't have time to do this or that. And so, like, are you going to, like, what's going to happen if we listen to you and then you decide that's not enough?
Mm-hmm.
That's her perspective. And then this other one, let me see. The other one feels a little maybe out of context. Let's see.
Yeah.
It's not really registering what daughter says, even though I'm registering it and it feels good to hear from her, but it's mm,
You can let it know that it can speak to you directly if it has any fear or concern about communicating with daughter.
I think it's like it kind of in a way it seems like it agrees with daughter's concern, but agreeing with her isn't good for it. Like it's turning its own criticism on itself, but that doesn't make it feel better because of course it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And what would it like to say in this conversation?
Um, let's see. I'm just getting it's so frustrated and tired
Yeah. Yeah. And what's it tired from?
from waiting for things to change. And it's like nothing ever actually changes and nothing ever happens. And I don't know what to do or how to tell you. It's like that feeling of like nobody ever helps me. Um, yeah.
Yeah. And can it feel you now wanting to understand that and really hear that?
It can a little bit. It's not it's like yeah, it does feel my presence a bit.
Yeah. And how are you feeling towards it?
I feel concerned that it won't that that things won't be enough for it. That help won't be enough for it. That I guess it's daughter again.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that. Yeah, it sounds possibly like daughter's concern. You can check that out with her.
So we've got one that's like I'm so tired and I need more help. And then one that's like help isn't enough for you. Nothing is enough for you. Nothing I do helps you. So what am I supposed to do? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And their common goal or the commonality between them is that they both want change. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So you can let them know that you understand that.
Mm. Yeah, they both want change and they're just trying to figure out how to go about it.
Yeah. Yeah, they have different strategies on how to get there.
Hmm.
And if they want to brainstorm any ideas, if they want to let you know what they might need from you.
Daughter needs to know that something will ever work. She's like, there has to be something that can actually satisfy the system. And the other one,
Could I ask what that means?
yeah, like that's a good question. There has to be a way out. Like there has to be a way to get more self than we currently have. There has to be a way for her to stop having to try and fix things all the time because she clearly can't.
Yeah. Yeah. And does she mean another way other than her stepping back?
Um, well, that's the thing. It is uh like she knows she's got to step back, but I'm sensing that she feels a compulsion to do what this part wants. And she knows that she's not supposed to do anything and she's supposed to step back, but it's like it's not, I don't know, not registering or I'm not sure. Hmm. She, I get, oh, I guess maybe she thinks self isn't enough for the system,
Hmm.
something like that.
Yeah, that might be a fear of hers.
Yeah, like, like whatever it is, it's not gonna make this part happy because nothing does.
Hmm. Nothing that she does makes this part happy.
Yeah, and I guess she thinks that nothing makes it happy
Yeah.
because she's like, I can't make you happy, but she also thinks for whatever reason that self won't make it happy. Maybe she doesn't, it's like she doesn't really believe that self is like a full person. She kind of thinks of self as this sort of placid, pleasant energy, but not actually like a force of change that thinks for itself.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And do you have any response that feels natural to that?
Well, I'm I came across this same feeling from her also like earlier today or maybe sometime yesterday, and it suddenly kind of hit me that that's exactly how I felt when I was growing up.
Mhm.
Like that my relationship to my parents, especially to my mom, was like this feeling of like there's not an actual resource here that I can go to. There's just kind of like somebody who's technically there, but nobody's really home.
Right.
So she got so used to that that she doesn't really think that the light is on anywhere except for in her. Like she
Yeah.
she kind of sees a lot of other people as like nobody being home, which is
Yeah.
like arrogant on the surface of it, but it's just what she grew up with.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
is a really great insight
Thank you.
into understanding her. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. She's like, nobody can take care of it but me.
Right. Yeah, the lights aren't on. It's just this, yeah, that there's a force there, there's an energy there, but is it really capable of holding all of this? Is it really supportive in the ways
Mm-hmm.
it to
Is it
be?
gonna, yeah, is it gonna think and figure things out the way I do?
Right, right. Yeah, and she didn't have a lot of that. She didn't see a lot of that.
Yeah, she didn't. Yeah, she saw like a presence that made her feel like, there's somebody. It's not
Sure.
like she was completely alone, but she was kind of the sentient being in her own world.
Yeah, really having to look out and support and
Mm-hmm.
pay attention and
Yeah.
yeah, you can let her know that that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It does. It does.
And if it feels right to show a bit of appreciation for her stepping up in that way.
Mm. She It does help her to know that the to really consider that that's why she feels the way she does,
Yeah.
and that it's a memory of the past rather than an intuition about like what's real.
Yeah. Yeah. She's just going off of what she's experienced.
Yeah.
And self, it makes sense that the closest thing that she would have to attribute to that or to relate to that would be a different type of guardian or
Mm-hmm.
higher figure than her.
Yeah, it's like the she's used to the guardian being a sort of, I guess, to use Dick Schwartz terminology, abdicating their role a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which required her to step up
Yes.
and be more self-like.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That none of that is unfounded, that it's actually very founded and very understandable.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah. And it makes a lot of sense too that she is also limited in what she's able to do.
Yeah.
And so we have this other part who's feeling like it's not enough.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not, and she knows it's not possible that anything she did could be enough, but she wasn't sure
But he's got to try,
why.
right? I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she wasn't sure why she couldn't at least just step back and make that happen. But yeah, I guess it's because she didn't believe that that made any sense.
Which is so understandable, right? When we're younger and we don't have that clear access to self,
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
really have to run the show.
Yeah, because she would always be like, okay, I'm stepping back. I'm gonna step back now. Time to step back. And it
Yeah,
just didn't feel like there was anything there.
to catch everybody. Yeah,
Yeah, it still sort of doesn't. But
that's a journey. That's
yeah,
absolutely a journey. Yeah.
it was,
And what you're doing right now is part of that journey, a really big part of it. Just this really great, clear understanding of her experience
yeah, definitely.
that builds trust and connection.
I agree.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, she has a question, which I think is a really good starting point. She's like, if self isn't this random placid ocean of calm that's just supposed to somehow make everything okay, then what actually is it?
Great question. Great question. Yeah. Any response that feels right to you?
Um, the response is kind of just like, I don't know, let's figure it out.
Yeah. I'm curious about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think, sometimes the best way to get to know somebody is firsthand, right?
Hmm.
Not necessarily reading about them or hearing about them from others, just really being in
Yeah.
their presence.
Yeah, and I guess if I'm feeling that sort of yes to her question and that curiosity, then I must be on some level, I must be self who's feeling curious in response to her question. And I'm curious why that doesn't register or why she doesn't see that as coming from me.
I think it takes time.
Yeah.
It's really natural and normal for parts to, one, be doubtful of self, sometimes need apologies from self or explanations.
Hmm.
Why haven't you been around?
Yeah.
That's all very natural and normal.
Yeah.
It takes time to develop this connection together.
Yeah, I agree. I'm honestly wondering though, like I feel like that's a place to explore is like what is it that she doesn't see? Because I think right now her response to my curiosity is, oh, that's from a part or that's from me or something like that.
Yeah, that's probably what she's used to.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how that works. It's kind of honestly fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, you can continue to invite her to just be with you,
Yeah.
to share, to notice. And she's curious about you. You're curious about her. You think that's a wonderful, fertile ground to be on.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm feeling from her, she's kind of like, there's no way that there's like some kind of higher, like intuitive being that's just running this thing. Like it goes against everything I've ever learned.
Hmm.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and does that make sense to you based off of
Yeah.
her experience?
Yeah, it does make sense. I mean, I grew up Christian, but none of it ever made sense to me. And then I became like a hardcore atheist for a long time.
Mhm.
And now I feel like the fact that the concept of self and the spirituality of IFS, the fact that it makes so much sense to me makes me more spiritual than I've ever been. But daughter is she's like she's like something about this makes perfect sense, but I also can't believe it. It's like it makes sense in her mind, but she doesn't feel it.
Yeah, and perhaps it wasn't safe for her to believe that before, Perhaps that was,
Hmm.
you could check that out with her.
Yeah. Well, she didn't get that
Yeah,
when she was younger as much.
yeah. And what would it be like for her to open to that now?
It
What
would
would come up for her?
it would be kind of like believing in Santa Claus or the Tooth
Mm,
Fairy.
yeah.
Like that's not a thing.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be duped.
Yeah. Huh.
You can let her know that makes sense.
It does make sense. And she's kind of full of she's like fascinated with herself right now because she's like I literally believe in this thing, but I also don't believe in it. But it's literally right here for me to see, and yet I can't see it. It's such a paradox for her.
Yeah, yeah, that's understandable. Can let her know that she can take her time. There's no rush to accept anything as fact or truth.
Hmm. She feels a rush personally for
Yeah,
herself.
I'm sure she's felt rushed by other parts too. Yeah,
She has, but she feels a rush for herself. She's like, I want to experience it so bad. And why can't I? It's almost like a what's wrong with me that I can't.
yeah, yeah. But she recognizes that you're here and that there's a paradox there. That's kind of hard
Yeah.
to wrap her head around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there is.
yeah.
Hmm.
And I would say there's nothing wrong with her, that she's just going off of her experience.
Yeah, yeah.
And when she was coming online and really developing an understanding of the world, self was not present for her. And so it
Hmm.
makes sense that there would be doubt and there would be trepidation around believing in that.
Yeah, and she came online so early too because I have such I have memories from ages that people don't usually have them. Like I remember being like a baby and my dad holding me and sensing that he was tired and wanted to go to sleep. And so I feel like she saw a lot before she was able to contextualize it. And not even crazy stuff. Like it's normal that a parent would be tired. But the fact that she could sense that so young and didn't know what to do with it is, I guess, how she's always sort of felt or operated, is that she knows too much almost.
Yeah, she's had to step up in ways that were a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's very used to being the only thing she knows that can see anything. At least that's how she feels.
Yeah. And does she mean, yeah, what does she mean by see anything?
Like she she feels like there's nothing else in my system that can understand what's going on around her better than she can.
Hmm.
And she frequently feels like other people don't understand things the way she does, which is again, I know, very arrogant, but
Could be very well true.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. She's been doing this a really long time.
Yeah.
She's had to build a really big capacity.
Hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I want to be aware of your time. I see that it's 6, and I don't know what your usual policy is on time, so figured I'd ask you.
Thank you. That's really considerate of you. I don't have any like complete stopping point or deadline completely. Um, So if you're okay to kind of, I would love to hear a little bit from her. I also would like to check back in with the frustrated and tired part that feels
Yeah.
like it never changes. So, but yeah, so I'm okay. How are you on time?
Oh, I'm good on time. Yeah. Yeah, I think hearing a little bit more from her and checking in with that other part sounds good, and then we can wrap up.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
You could ask her how this is. You know, it's a big paradox, like she said, to wrap her head around.
Hmm.
How's she doing with that?
She's like she's just unsettled that she doesn't see it yet, that she's like right in front of it and she still doesn't see it. She doesn't understand how she's supposed to get there, or like she frequently feels like the fact that she doesn't see it means that it's not there, because it's like if it was there, I would see it because I
Yeah.
see everything.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let her know you understand that.
Yeah. I
And self is funny like that. It, it makes sense that she would feel like she needs to do something to see it, right? Like there should
yeah.
be an effort or an action. And
Mm.
oddly, it's often the opposite of that.
Yeah, that's true. But I think she's so blended that I'm kind of like, I don't know. Like I don't know what's going on. Um, I feel confused myself.
You're feeling some of her confusion on that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Good noticing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And take time and letting
Yeah.
her know that you're accepting of her as she is, if that feels genuine or if that feels true.
Hmm.
We recognize that she might not completely be, or that other parts might not completely be, but that you can be accepting of her exactly how she is.
Yeah. I know that's true of self, but I guess I'm not fully in self because I I just feel her confusion kind of.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel super wound up about it. And I feel like I feel like there's some reassurance because of the progress that she's seen just from this session, and she feels like she kind of knows what she's looking at now a little better, but um yeah, she's still really just blocking with her confusion, it would seem.
She probably feels a lot of it. Yeah. She might not be meaning to do that, but that's
Yeah.
understandable.
Yeah, she's not, but she's definitely doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big paradox, like she was saying, to wrap your head around. And even just the fact that there's been noticeable shifts in progress, even with a sort of in and out connection, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Pretty amazing.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. See how she would feel. There's anything else that she would like us to know for today. You can let her know that obviously you'll meet with her again.
Hmm.
If there's anything else she'd like to share with us today before we check in,
Let's see.
this other part.
she's like, if I really haven't stepped back before, and stepping back would reveal self, if all that's really true, then that could change everything. And so she just hopes it's real. And she hopes that there really is something that she's unable to see.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
we appreciate even just that hope, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Hope
Yeah.
is,
And it makes a lot of sense that, she's lived so many years looking for that and not seeing it. And
yeah.
I think it's probably most important for her to feel like you really understand that.
Yeah, that's true. She has been looking for a really long time, and she might not have found me, but she's been trying really, really hard.
Yeah.
And that is, yeah, it's kind of nuts how hard she's tried.
Yeah. Yeah. She's like, look, I'm not trying to be a non-believer. Like, I'd love for that to be a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Does she feel like you get that? What her experience has been like?
Um, she feels like she feels some appreciation from me, yeah. And she also feels a good amount of her own shame. She's like, I've been trying so hard to figure it out, but I haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank her for sharing that with you. That's really vulnerable of her to share. You really appreciate that.
Yeah, she feels like maybe she's gonna feel really stupid once she finds self.
Oh, and that's okay. We can be there for her through that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all welcome.
Yeah.
No one, self will never make her feel that way. But any of those feelings that she might have, the shame or feeling like, oh, why didn't I see it? It's all really understandable and it's welcome. And we can be here for her and help
Yeah.
her through all of that.
Yeah, it is funny. It's like she can't imagine. She knows that self won't make her feel that way. She's read the book, but she can't actually imagine a world where she is sort of off the hook for,
Yeah.
for the fact that she didn't find it.
Yeah. Well, like she's been the end of the road for so long, right? Like it's all
Yeah.
to her.
Yeah, and she's also very prideful about her intellect and her intuition and all of her abilities.
Really
So,
smart. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And she's probably had to be, that strength and that pride makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. Yeah. And like we said, she doesn't have to believe any of it right now or at any pace that doesn't feel right to her. And I know she feels that pressure on herself
Yeah.
just from us that there isn't a right time or a wrong time. It just happens with this consistency
Hmm.
and this building of an understanding and trust.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is she she took in like a tiny percent of that sentiment, which is a good amount for her.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And does that feel pretty complete for her for today?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. I just really want to thank her for how hard she's trying and how much she's willing to communicate.
Yeah. thank you for listening and for guiding my system.
And my pleasure. It's absolutely an honor and a pleasure. And I want to just check in real quick with this other part. I know, it started telling us that it feels really left out, and
Yeah,
and we definitely don't want to add to that feeling. So I'd love to let it know that I still have plenty of time for it, and I'd love to hear from it if you're in agreement with that.
sure, sure. Let me see if I can find it again.
Yeah.
Um, mm, I think it's hiding because it's seeing that daughter feels kind of good right now. And it's like still scared, but it doesn't want to put its fear on her
Yeah.
because it knows that that discourages her.
That's really considerate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't want to hear from me. I'm a negative Nelly.
Yeah. What feels right to say in response to that?
Um, that hearing from it and it being okay to hear from it is what daughter needs to see.
Yeah.
And that also, like, if it silences itself, then it's just going to worry more and it'll get out. Like daughter will know.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hiding it doesn't make its feelings go away. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, I guess this one must be the one that I've called Jerry sometimes.
Okay. Yeah.
He's the warrior.
Yeah. And does that feel right to this part? You can check it out. Make sure you got that right.
I'm pretty sure I have.
Yeah.
But it can be hard to tell sometimes who's who, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that it's the worry wart one, the one who's always checking and doubting.
Mm-hmm.
And daughter's almost got like a toxic positivity to counter it, even though she hates the idea of toxic positivity. She's
Yeah. She probably thinks of it more as like a practicality, but yeah.
yeah, she's just like, come on, like
Right.
let's
Right.
let's
Yeah.
move. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So checking in with Jerry,
Yeah.
he's concerned. He doesn't want to put his stuff on anybody.
Yeah, he's always concerned. He's yeah, this does feel like it must be Jerry. He's like he's like I'm concerned. I'm concerned all the time and I'm not supposed to be
Yeah.
because my concern holds us back. And if I just wasn't concerned, then everybody's telling me if I just wasn't concerned, then things would get better, but I can't stop it.
Yeah. And as he shares that with you, how are you feeling towards him?
I feel I feel I feel like I want his concern.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Good.
can feel that he feels better when he's able to express it to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't have to be alone in that.
Yeah, no. No.
You can thank him for trying. It's a really honorable and considerate thing to try to do, but he doesn't have to do that with you.
Yeah, I feel sort of sorry that he's been put in this predicament where worrying is bad and then being bad causes more worry.
Yeah.
That's such a trap to be in. There's no getting out of that if you're like, as long as you believe that, like, it is hard. Like, as long as you believe that you're wrong for just being worried, it's
Right.
really hard to stop being worried.
Of course. Yeah. So you really see that he's in a predicament there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what does he think about your presence now and this openness to his worry?
He he likes it. He wants more of it. He's
Yeah.
he's like, take it away. I don't want it. And I'm like, I know that he's not ready for me to actually take it away yet.
Yeah. Good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can let him know that you are here to understand how it's been for him
Yeah.
and as an ally in this so that he's not alone in that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think daughter just interrupted.
Okay.
She's she's just trying really hard to see self.
Sure. It makes sense. Yeah. Everybody wants a view.
'Cause she can step back. I wanted to explain why I was suddenly spacing out.
Oh, you're totally good. You're totally good. Yeah. Let her know that you would love to set up another time to be with her very soon.
Yeah. Yeah. I would. I would.
Yeah.
Okay. Jerry, what was the last question?
Oh, I don't think I had a question, just
Oh.
sort of like letting him know that you're an ally in this with it.
Oh, yeah. 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 I I am.
And what does he need from you now? Does he want to share any of those concerns or worries that he has felt like he's had to bottle away? Does he just want to be in your presence for a little while? What would feel right for him?
He has a kind of desperate energy of like yeah, he and daughter both with the urgency. Like, he's like afraid of me like leaving him alone again before all of this is resolved, which obviously is going to happen, and like he'll be okay, but he's just like, I need it to be better now because otherwise I'm gonna freak out again about it never getting better.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I know myself and I know I'll just start up again the moment you're gone.
Yeah.
Like, the moment self is gone.
Yeah.
And I guess that makes me want to say to him, like, actually, this can be done incrementally.
Mhm.
And even if you just give me a little bit of your worries and see how it goes, you will feel a little bit better than before.
Yeah, we could get curious about how that might feel.
Yeah. Um,
How does he feel about that?
he is hard to contact again. I think daughter scared him away, which makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's because daughter is like not like she's around and he doesn't want to open up to her because that goes badly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would it feel right to create like a little secret space for the two of you?
Hmm. Let me
Like a
see.
little powwow.
I can tell him that he doesn't have to say anything when she's around if he doesn't want to,
Yeah.
and that from now on I'll sort of know if he disappears, I'll know why and I'll know what happened. And so we can figure it out from there. Because I don't know that daughter is capable of allowing there to be a secret space. She doesn't even know how to do that.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
I think that's great. That's a great understanding to have of if he wants to scurry away, then we understand it's for a good reason.
Yeah. Yeah. And then daughter can see that and decide if she wants to step back and allow him
Yeah.
in. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I'm not getting a lot more from him right now. Things are pretty quiet.
Yeah. That's all right.
Yeah. I think he can come back though. Like, given enough space.
Yeah. Yeah, all in his own time.
Yeah.
Even just sending out a message to him.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Um,
We heard from him that he feels left out a lot of the time, or
yeah. Yeah, he did say that. And yeah, I want him to know that he's allowed to worry.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, I can,
in your
yeah, I
presence.
can feel that he kind of accepted that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that you're here to hear those worries. And you also acknowledge that sometimes you guys get interrupted or you get scared off, and that that's okay.
Yeah, it is okay. It makes sense.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
And does he need anything from you today?
Um, he wants to know that it'll be okay to worry, not just right now, but in the future.
Yeah, maybe
That,
carving
yeah.
out a time for that.
It's more like a presence. Like it's easier with you here for him to come out and worry because like he's less afraid of daughter taking over the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes
Whereas, yeah, when it's just me, he's like, who knows what quote unquote self is. Except, I mean, he does now because
yeah. It can
yeah.
be harder to get a full grasp on. I get that. It's the same in my system. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Understand.
So,
Yeah. And let him know that that makes a lot of sense. And if it's of any comfort to him, I am happy to send you another link to book for the future.
yeah, I would love that.
Great. How does that sound to him?
It sounds good.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds good to me too.
Awesome.
We'd love to do this, like you said, incrementally. I think that was such a smart thing to say. I think that's really
Mhm.
slow is fast, as they say in this work.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. That would be great.
Awesome. Well, I want to send a big thank you to all of them.
Yeah, yeah. And thank you and your parts for today as well.
My pleasure. It's been awesome. Feel free to send me any questions. I will send you the recording of this call in just a little bit if you would like.
Yeah, sounds great to me.
Okay, great. And then, yeah, I'll follow up with another link and can check out a good time, can check in with these guys and anybody else that needs some being with.
All right. Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks again.
So, thank you. I hope you have a really wonderful night. Any other questions or anything for me?
No, I don't have any. I hope you have a wonderful night too.
All right, thank you. Bye, Olivia.
Bye.
Do you want to help bring more self energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows? That might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.